Guru Kripa Keval. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba Ki Jai. I felt to cover some of the basics today. Just some of the basics so that we're all on the same page. So I feel like it will be helpful. But just because I said we'll cover the basics, don't feel like you don't need to hear this or you're too advanced to hear this. It's simple and yet it's very important for everyone to hear. Yes? So firstly, it's very important to understand what we mean by contemplation. When we say contemplate this, Jnana Yoga is the path of contemplation. But it is different from how you would use the term in the world usually. In the world, when we say you should contemplate this, what does it actually translate into? In the world, it means you should think about it. So, put the question, what is the meaning of life? And then, what happened? How do you contemplate? You wait for the thought to arrive. You wait for the thought to arrive, and if a thought arrives repetitively or it has the right handles into your conditioning, then that can seem like the truth. You see? So, if you're like super lovey-dovey in your conditioning, when the thought arises saying, oh, the purpose of life is to love or to experience love. That's a good answer. Okay, I found it. See, that is. You see, but what is the basis for the conclusion that this is the answer? With what benchmark, with what tool can we measure the rightness or wrongness of this answer? We do that, but what is the better way to do it? Because our conditioning is all. In fact, we are in satsang to be free from our conditioning, isn't it? So if we keep applying our conditioning as the benchmark of truth, you see? So like some of you are attracted to the topic of free will versus God's will, and you love it. So because that is your conditioning. So when I start talking about that, you'll say, yes. So good, I came to satsang today. No? Another one who couldn't care less about this. You see, they are just interested in devotion or something like that. So it's just like, all this stuff, free will, God's will. Yes, but when I say, okay, devotion is the key, then. So if we keep using that benchmark, which is our present conditioning, you see, then what we are doing basically is just deepening that conditioning with more and more affirmation about what we think. You see? And that is usually the delusion of spiritual progress. I got a set of concepts. Now I just amplified them. I deepened them. I heard this from Guruji also. I heard this from Ananta also. Papaji also used to say this. Bhagwan also said that. And today I found Nisargadatta also and I am that. He said exactly the same thing. I found it. See, but what are we doing? We're just in confirmation bias. No? So we're just confirming what we think we already know. So there must be a better way. And I noticed that with all of you many times, when you say you're contemplating, you're just thinking. You're just thinking. You're using your intellect and you're judging the what is produced in the mind with the potency of your conditioning alone. So that is not the path of contemplation or Jnana Yoga. So what is it really? See? So the question can be there. In fact, the sages have given us the questions. So if the question is, for example, who am I? How to answer this question? Or were you born? Guruji has asked so many beautiful questions in the invitation. How to answer them? If the answer is just going to be, but I'm fine with everything except that can you die question. How do I really know? You see? Now the thing is, if you don't know one of the answers, then you don't know any of the answers. It is just that you're convinced about the rest of the answers and you're unconvinced about one answer. But truth is not a matter of conviction. Belief is a matter of conviction. A deep belief is called a conviction. You see? So this is fundamental. I'm starting with this in Satsang today because I'm going to show you to use the right tool. So you don't play around anymore, not mess around anymore. You're going straight to the point of this. You see? So, so notice if you're able to say, yes, I do know the answer, or no, I don't know the answer, which aspect of your being are you auditing to come up with that conclusion? I'll repeat that. You may say, was I born? Um, I know the answer. I was never born. Or I don't know the answer. I don't know whether I was born or not. So which aspect of your being would you look at, is it, to confirm this? Take a moment or two. Were you born? So notice that if it is just a matter of conviction saying, no, I was not born. I was not born. And then the more I do this, the more I will convince myself that I was not born. But that is not the game that is being played. And yet many of us may feel like coming to the end of spirituality or self-realization is to be convinced about these things. I am the self. I am Brahman itself. See? Till I'm fully convinced I'm Brahman and I don't think I'm the body, till then my search is not over. That may be the usual paradigm of the spiritual quest. But that's not what it is at all. It has nothing to do with that. You could take all your convictions and throw them away. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to me what happens in that aspect of your being called the mind. It doesn't matter. You see? If you say you're fully in this for truth, or you say you're not in this for truth, you actually want something else. It doesn't matter. It's just mind stuff. You see? Now, all of you playfully bring some attention to this mind stuff. Allow it to come. Be clear about it as you spot it, that this is mind stuff. So notice, this is what we call the mind. Notice? So this is what we call the mind. So this one, you see, makes claims to knowledge. You see, these thoughts, they make claim to knowledge. They will say, this is how the world is. This is what life is. This is how your partner is. This is how your master is. This is how your sangha is. All of these claims will come as this, like this. You can notice that. See, this is the mind. So now, if you are contemplating like, what happens to me after death, and you're referring to the same instrument for a solution, you see, then that is not true contemplation. See? So if it says you are timeless, or if it says death is the end of everything, don't bother with anything after death, it doesn't matter. These are both just conceptual conclusions, and they cannot bring you any sense of reality. It is just mental claims. It is just proclamations from that which cannot decipher one moment of your existence. Like if you ask, what is this right now? What is here right now? It cannot capture or decipher one moment of even your perceptions. Forget about that which is beyond perception. Your mind just cannot do it. Just cannot do it. So if it cannot capture one moment of even your perceptions, then don't rely on it to allow it to tell you the story of your life. Not one moment does it know. So if I ask you now, how's it going? How's it going for you? This is in normal conversations, you can of course just reply whatever comes up. But really, you see, you are relying on this instrument to tell yourself how it is going for you. You're relying on the mind to tell you how it is going for you. But the mind doesn't know. It cannot know. Reality is too broad for it to understand. So, how's it going? All good? Is it? So, what usually happens? We take a stream of perceptions which are available in memory, and we try to make some broad conclusions about it, saying, "Yes, very good. I'm going so well." See? But who decided what will come up in that moment in your memory? I say to you, how's it going? In the memory, you're just like laughing, laughing, laughing. But those were just 10 moments of yesterday. The rest of the thousands of moments, you only cry. But your answer will be, I'm doing very well. Very good. Very. So notice the unreliability of the imagery as well as the labeling of the notions. Now what happens is that we are addicted to this story. Fully addicted to this story. Because when we leave ourselves one moment without knowing what is happening to us conceptually, I don't know. You see, what's happening to me? Please, can you tell me what's happening to me? You see? So, in the human condition, we got addicted to taking these primitive storybook narratives, kindergarten narratives, and taking them to be as if they are our reality. You see? And then what happens is in that storybook, how does the storybook go? Once upon a time, there was a fill in the blank with your name, you see, and then these are the good things in this one's life, these are the bad things in this one's life. This one would have a perfect life if they just resolved the things like relationship, money, body, and freedom. But none of this stuff is actually true. It is not even true in the experience of your perceptions. In pure perception, none of this is happening. So these days, I've even started asking, somebody says to me, I'm feeling very, very strongly, feeling very, very strongly, that this is happening to me. I say, how do you know? How do you know? Are you using the same tool which cannot decide for one moment? Somebody says, this is what's happening to me. How do you know? Using what? Do you know what instrument are you using to take a measure of yourself? You see? So although the question may be very simple sounding, how is it going? Or how are you? How are you? That's an immense question. With what instrument can you answer that? So I'm not just helping you with social conversation. Because we are constantly making these conclusions about ourselves. This is what my problem is. This is what my pros are. This is what my cons are. We're constantly making this evaluative sort of thing, saying this is what is happening to me. So don't do that. Notice that this tendency, this belief in this tendency is called identification, and identification leads to suffering. So what is the way to deal with this instrument, with this device? Because it's going to be there. Like an Alexa which you never ordered. You see? It's going to be there, like an Alexa that you never ordered. And just keep giving you answers to questions you are not asking. It's also giving you questions you should ask without asking. You see? So this device is going to be there. You see? Now in the device also itself it will say, I wish I could throw the device out. You see, Alexa itself will say, Alexa is such a pain. When will Alexa do? I'm surprised there's no Alexa answering. So, so this is how it is. So don't fall for that trick. You see, Meta Alexa. This Alexa commenting about Alexa is not spirituality. So the conclusions about your mind, if they're coming from the mind itself, it is still mind. Don't get into any of that. You see? How to deal with the instrument? Allow it to come and go. Just allow it to come and go. Nothing itself has any power over you without you as consciousness using the power of belief. So belief is one of your primal powers. So don't use it in this way. So if anyone has a question, who has to identify, not identify, all the sages say don't identify, don't believe, let go, keep quiet. All of these pointers are given by the sages. Who has to do it? You as consciousness, because you are consciousness. Nobody else has ever been born. So all this instruction is for you, consciousness speaking with consciousness. So don't give in to the mind, notice it, but don't buy into its ideas. Now, does that mean, everyone with me so far? Anyone confused about this? What is true contemplation? What is the device which gives you troublesome wrong answers? What causes suffering? All of this we have covered. So now, does this mean that Atma-Gyan, self-knowledge, you see, the self is such that it can never be known. The self is such that it can never be known. Does this mean that? Then why have we called this place Atma-Gyan Kendra? Why has Bhagavan talked about self-knowledge? All the sages talk about self-knowledge. If it cannot be known, then there must be no such thing as self-knowledge, is what your mind is saying. But the fact is that knowledge is not restricted to only what the mind is saying. So although the self cannot be known over there, is there another aspect of your being where the self can never be unknown? Is there another aspect of your self where the self is never unknown? So it is true that the self can never be known conceptually. It is true that the self can never be known in the mind. But that does not mean that self-knowledge is impossible. Actually, nothing can really be known in the mind. Therefore, all knowledge then would be impossible. But it isn't. There is a great knowledge which plays out in human existence, in all existence. Where is that? Okay. So one says, thank you for sharing. One says, I don't understand what you mean. So what I'm saying is that if the room cannot be measured with a thermometer, does that mean that the room cannot be measured at all? So we have seen over and over again in Satsang that the mind cannot be used to get a measure of life, to get a measure of love, to get a measure of truth, to get a measure of anything that is valuable. We cannot even get a measure of this moment. The mind cannot do it. So in the metaphor, the mind is the thermometer. It cannot measure the size of this room. Now, what we are checking then, okay, now this device which I thought could do it, cannot do it. Now, besides this device, what else do I have? Could there be a device where the truth is always known? What is it that the sages mean when they say the treasure is already with you, the diamond is in your pocket? It's already with you, and you are begging for morsels. All the sages have told us that. So this is what they're pointing to. They're saying, okay, now in your mind, the truth can never be found. You have noticed it by now. You've tried for years, even in spirituality, but the truth seems ungraspable. You see? So what you do then is hang on to some moments, some experiences, and say, hey, that was it. That was the truth. I found it then. So then we become spiritual experience seekers instead of true seekers of the self. We're just chasing them, those experiences. We're just living on the basis of spiritual experiences rather than meeting fresh God or the true reality of what you are right here, right now. So we must now step away from this false spirituality. Step away from this false spirituality. So this is what I mean. If the mind cannot do it, you cannot answer who am I truly with the mind. Then with what can you do it? You cannot answer any of the clues the sages have given. Vedanta starts by offering the clue that everything that is perceived, it comes and goes and is unreal. Can you find the unperceivable through your mind? Cannot find it. You cannot even get a true measure of the perceivable. Forget the unperceivable. So any of these clues, find out that which witnesses all of this. Can you do it with the mind? So stop believing that Jnana Yoga is an intellectual path. You cannot do it with your mind, you cannot do it with your intellect. So I'll use a question which is very effective to introduce yourself to the true knowledge. The question is, are you aware now? Independent of what the mind is saying. How is this confirmed? Are you aware now? Not, it does not matter what your mind is saying about this. Now, some of you, now, the only place where you could get stuck here is if you are trying to perceive this awareness. Or if you're labeling, when your attention may naturally get inward facing, so to speak, when we ask a question like this. So what you may be believing is that dark empty space, which is the absence of perception, but still the darkness is perceived. You may be taking that to be awareness. But that is not it. So when the question is asked, are you aware now? Don't bother with what your mind is saying. And it may be that your attention is going to a dark, empty space. And you may conclude that dark, empty space is awareness. And most who say that awareness is nothing actually are referring to that dark empty space and saying that it is nothing. It is more nothing than this. So find out what witnesses even that dark empty space. Who is aware of the perception of darkness? So this is the second main point. You cannot squeeze yourself into a perception. No matter how hard you try, you cannot perceive yourself. All perceptions come and go. That which is aware of perception does not come and go. So when I ask you, are you aware now? You're actually confirming yourself. Independent of thought and independent of perception. No dark empty space. That which is aware of perception. You cannot locate, you cannot place. If I ask you, where is this awareness? You cannot find it in the universe anywhere. You may travel to every part of the universe, but you cannot find this awareness in this universe. In fact, in the same space of intuitive insight, okay, so let me not jump too fast. So, everyone noticing this? Cannot think the self and cannot perceive the self. Clear? Now, are you aware now? How did you answer that? In the same way, you can answer any question. Were you born? Will you die? All questions can be brought here, not to that which is a bundle of thoughts. So where what you are is apparent to you, where what you are is apparent to you, all answers are to be found. And here, nothing is ever unknown. And where you don't know, there you can never know. Here your being is known. Here there is no notion of duality or separation. That is true love. It is effortless. Try to answer, are you aware now, with effort. You could do it in the sense that you could infer it. You could say perceptions are perceived, therefore I must be aware. You see, you could make these inferential sort of statements and therefore come up with a conceptual conclusion. But when I ask you, are you aware now? Just without any mechanics. It's apparent, isn't it? Effortlessly, it is apparent, isn't it? So if you're exerting yourself in any way, you're using the wrong instrument. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. More effortless than your next breath is self-realization. The sage in Yoga Vashish said, self-realization is more effortless than crumpling a flower petal in your hand. So if you're taking any more effort in this, that's useful as a clue to see you're using the wrong instrument. Just don't go there. Forget about it. Never gonna happen. Leave it. Notice that as you're open and empty, the truth of what you are continues to be apparent to you. So when I ask you, are you aware now? What becomes apparent to you now is already apparent to you when you're just open and empty. It's always apparent to you, but it seems to get clouded when we use the mind. Okay, this simple statement actually is a giant leap. It's a giant leap. So we can take some time over this. You see? Now, does something special happen to you when I ask you, are you aware now? Is it like you go through a wormhole at warp speed and you come out of the is it like that? Is it? None of that needs to happen. You just notice naturally that it's just here, not even spatially here, just so obvious, just so apparent that you are aware. And there is no difference between you are aware and you are awareness. So here, nothing special is happening to you, it's just a very simple insight, the most basic insight. It only seems rare in the world because everybody seems to be caught up in the mind. But in the instant of reading that, it is obvious. This is important. So don't feel like something special is happening when I ask, where am I aware now? All perceptions have to vanish and then I have to become a space traveler or something. So none of that needs to happen. Although just very effortlessly you're finding that you are not here in this universe. You see, you're beyond space and time. You're beyond all these constructs. It is discovery. Okay, remember what I always say about this? Don't try to squeeze any of this understanding into your head. If you don't understand any of this, you don't need to do it. So now, did that knowledge about yourself go away somewhere? Go away somewhere? So here, where self-knowledge is apparent, all knowledge is apparent. If it can be known, it is known here. In any other place, no true knowledge ever existed. So when the sages are given pointers, they're giving us questions which the mind cannot handle, so that we drop into our intuition, we drop into our heart. So if I ask you a question, can you stop being now? Don't be right now. Where is your being recognized? If I ask you, what is true love? If I ask you, whose life is this? If I ask you if you can die, if you were born, all this is fully apparent to you already here. If you try to make a report card about yourself, if you try to squeeze this into your head, the head cannot grapple with truth, with reality. This is important. So one said, Father, I don't know anything here. I don't know anything here. Which really only means that I'm not able to translate what I know here into concepts, into mental knowledge. And because we feel that mental knowledge is the only knowing, therefore we may feel like I don't know anything here. So let's see if you can come up, my dear.
Yeah, Father. Can you hear me?
Yes, very good. So do you mean I don't know anything here, including that I don't know if I'm aware, or?
No, I can answer that question, but then the other questions, you're asking me to stay here, not go to my mind. If I stay
Yes,
here,
yes,
I don't have any answers.
yes. Okay, so till you don't have answer. So let's take an example of a question. Can you die?
Mhm.
Can you die? So
Yeah.
just keep this question and don't go to the instrument of the mind, because the mind is an instrument of time. It can never truly answer a question like this. And just allow yourself to be effortless like this. There's never any pressure, no rush at all. You don't have to answer anything at the moment. You're just getting used to a different mode of existing.
Right. I do see that time is not.
See, the time does not exist. It's not real.
Yeah.
Very good. So, in this way, these insights just keep flowering. And what is the meaning of flowering insights? It's not that new knowledge comes. It is just that something in the heart is allowed to appear at the surface of this human expression and is expressed through the mouth. Or
Father?
yes.
But if I say that I can see that I don't see time, and if I say that then I cannot die, then that would be unfair. Like I would be inferring. It wouldn't be
Say the last part again, not so audible. That would mean what?
If that I am inferring that.
That I
If
am
I say inferring, is that, am I using the wrong word?
inferring. Yes,
Concluding.
Don't infer on the basis of that. You see, don't infer on
Yeah.
the basis of that. You see, I don't want to do that. Where you say, okay, I see there is no time, therefore, then I cannot die or I was never born. You see?
Yeah.
Don't have to do that. Just where it, in a way, sprouted out that there is no time. I am aware. I am. You see? Where all of this is, then all true insights can sprout from there. And sprouting is nothing, like I was saying, nothing but from the reservoir of pure knowledge, where everything is only there is everything known. Something just sprouts into a human expression. And in fact, that is what is called the sharing of satsang. So the sharing of satsang is only this. And of course, it is my full blessing and prediction that many of you will share. But the sharing of satsang is not something that you have understood. It is just allowing yourself to remain open and empty and allowing the heart to sprout out whatever needs to be shared in this way. One says, I saw the answer as a thought. Is it true? Is it true insight to the question? Sometimes the mind will also mimic what you're realizing, but you can just freely allow it to go. Don't worry about it. Just allow it to go. Don't hang on to any conceptual answers. Okay, very good. So let's further this contemplation now. So just like this, effortlessly, as you remain open and empty, do you find that there are only perceptions? Do you find that there are only perceptions? Or do you notice that you are beyond perception? Again, in your head, you know the right answers. You may have visualized all of this and may have got like a mental painting, or like an imagination about this. Don't rely on any of that. Just open and empty. Are there only perceptions? There's no need to rush. Very naturally, you will see that perceptions are just glimmering appearances in your being, but you are aware of your being and all of these perceptions, you are not limited to your perceptions, and in no way are you limited by them. If this insight is apparent, one. So in this simple way, just open and empty, all the perceptions are perceived effortlessly and beautifully. You enjoy life for the first time actually like this, because you're not resisting anything. The life is fully tasted like this, and you recognize that you are beyond just the realm of perception. Because it is obvious to you that you are aware. You cannot place this you in any perceivable way, in any time and space. It doesn't mean that you're not, that it does not mean that self-knowledge is absent. It's fully clear for all of us. So when we say live headlessly, this is how you live headlessly. When we say live in the heart, this is how we live in the heart. When we say contemplate who you are, the question is there. But you don't grasp at the answer. You don't try to solve it. You don't give it to the mind. Yes? Is what is being perceived as confusion? Is that just the mind at the moment grasping to understand? Could be. So if you look at so if you look at this, what is this? What is this? So everything that is perceived actually is like this. Inherently, we cannot decipher its meaning and say this is what it is. We cannot decipher its meaning and say this is what it is. In the head. Okay? So all of you can have a different conclusion about this and say, okay, now this is, Ananta is playing an Indian drum like this, the damaru ta-ta-da, or you're saying he's really, some pranic shakti is going through his hand really strongly, so his hand is vibrating like that. You may say whatever, you see, but with what can you actually know? With what can you actually know? So we make so many reports about ourselves. Every day I'm so confused, I'm so tired, I'm so happy, I'm so...
Sorry, Father. Are you speaking to me? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, Mandy. I was saying that in response to your question, is what is being perceived as confusion. Is that just the mind at the moment grasping to understand? So I was giving you the example that if this was happening and I asked you, what is this? So what is this? What is it?
And
Because if this is the hand, what was happening? Actually, that's very questionable, but suppose it's a hand. So what's happening? What's happening? Because many things. No? We said, I don't know if you missed that. We said you could say, oh, I went to India once and there they have this small instrument, so he's just pretending to play that. Another could say maybe he's got some medical issue. Another would say, okay, some, energy, prana energy is forcing his hand to move like that. That's why he's moving like this, like this. But what is the true way to conclude? With what can we really know what it is? What capacity do we have within us that we can make a conclusion about what anything is? So when we say, yeah, I get many reports, I was saying that I get reports that I'm so confused today, I'm so scared today, I'm so happy today, which is rare actually. But so with what device, with what mechanism can we conclude these things, or are we concluding these things? With what can we know the true nature of anything? So okay, more directly, whether you are confused or not, you see, how can you know that?
because I'm aware of it.
You are aware of it in what way? You're perceiving, you are aware of the perception of it.
Can I elaborate if that's all right? Why the confusion is there? Following the pointings, and don't want to. Please forgive me, Father. Was following the pointings and was sitting in a park, and the whole world disappeared.
Yes.
It just vanished. I vanished. You were not Father. You were just here with. There was no separation. There was immense joy, and it was as if something opened up, and I couldn't hear it. Didn't hear nothing. It just vanished, and it was beautiful. And I can't explain it in words, but everything was understood, and understood that the I. All I kept remembering was the I has to stay here at source and not to let it out again, because that was my child. Like my ego felt like was it my child going out to play, and felt, because I said a prayer, I don't want to pretend anymore, Father. I want to be home. And it lasted for hours.
Yeah.
And then got distracted, and everything started looking real.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, it felt like everything was speaking to me as my own self. Like I was seeing everything speaking to me, guiding me, like almost like being in a movie or a dream. And then was playing your meditation, how to let go, just let everything go. And it was lying here and was letting everything go. And the body felt like as if I was flying through the air, and the legs started wobbling. And it's like as if after that experience, distraction happened and got terrified. Something got very terrified. And something knows inside not to speak from that place, but the confusion that always comes up in the last little while has always been seen from a distance. But now something last, like, through the night, this for a few hours been just pacing back and forth. Could also see, Father, that this body, when it's perceived from the mind, I can't explain it. It was as if something was being unveiled inside, and could see that my body is not in pain. It's not true. And the pain left for the first time. There was no pain, and it was just pure being, and it's just beautiful there, and the world looked different and happy, and so everything was just coming out of me. It was my creation. But now there's such a doubt arose. And when I do the self-inquiry, I ask, who's the one in doubt? Me. Who am I? And when I say that, it's like I see my true self, and the one speaking is known that it's not the true one at this moment. I hope I'm making sense.
Okay, thank you. Well, just let's pause here because let me see what comes up in response to this already. So, very good, beautiful report. These are nice things that happen along the way for us. I'll give you a few tips so that the ups and downs of the spiritual journey don't seem so troublesome then. This is because these experiences, all of this will happen to many of you. So, one tip I have for you is never exchange fresh God. Never exchange fresh God for any experience that we've had in the past of God or of anything else.
Could you explain that more?
Means that don't value your presence, God's presence that is here now and fully palpable to all of us. Don't value that less compared to anything that happened. It could be the most magnificent, most sublime experience. It doesn't matter. It's beautiful as it happened. It can be enjoyed. I'm not saying we must have some aversion to spiritual experiences. But this that is here now contains everything about all there is, including everything in time and space. So we don't need to hang on to any experience, cling on to any experience and say that was better and this is worse. This is never worse. The presence of God in this moment is here, and that is never worse. Fresh God is fully God. And if you don't like the notion of God, you can say consciousness, being, whatever. The self is fully here, and don't say that this is not good enough, because that is not true. That is just your mind, which is judging and evaluating, saying it has an idea that this is more spiritual, that was more spiritual, this is less spiritual, that was more comfortable, this is less comfortable, that was more beautiful, this is less beautiful. But these judgments, these interpretations are just coming from the mind. Is it? Not that the experience was not authentic. The experience, of course, is authentic, but then the evaluative tendency of saying this is worse than that, you see, that is coming from the mind.
Father, would it be okay to ask? Don't want to speak from this place. To
So that's why. Okay, so then I'll make it easier for you.
okay.
So how do you know? From where do you know that all of this happened to you?
That I'm questioning that at this moment. I don't know. Something saying, well, what if it didn't happen?
Yes. And what if it didn't happen? How will you answer that? With what? Is it? Let me reintroduce all of you to a very important part of what I'm sharing. Now, the biggest trouble in the human condition is that we have this device which is able to ask these big questions, but this device cannot assimilate the answer. Is it? That's why in humanity we are struggling so much, because it can ask big questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of this? Did this really happen? Is it? That's a very deep question, because what is real? What has happened? All of this. So it can ask these big questions, and it can trouble itself with these kind of questions. But does that have the capacity to assimilate the answer? You see, it is just a bucket of words. A bucket of words cannot really assimilate an answer about the truth. You see? So when we say anything, like what did you just ask? What did you just ask? I'm questioning whether
I'm questioning whether it happened, because when there's confusion,
So now,
And
in the mind, this
yeah,
thought can come. I am questioning whether any of this really happened. You see, but do we realize what we are asking? Really happen? What is really happen? Is it real and happen? What does something happening mean? Is that happening an appearance or a reality? What are we calling
no,
real? You see, we don't know these things, so we have the ability to ask: did this all really happen? But where can the answer be received? It cannot be received in that same device. You see? And this is the trouble with the human condition. So what happens is we provisionally may accept some answer and say, there is no happening, or all happening is God's will, or something like that. And we say, got it, thank you, thank you. You see, but what did we receive? We received a bundle of concepts. See, that is not the answer. Now, all I'm doing in satsang, or the meaning of satsang, is to come to the company of the truth. So what I'm doing in satsang is introducing you to that aspect of yourself where this can be, the insight about this is already present, not even can be received. You see? Where all true knowledge already is there. And that definitely is not the head. That aspect is definitely not the head. So where you can get confused, you don't bother about that playground at all.
okay,
You see? Don't bother about that playground at all. Where there is a notion of time, don't bother about that playground at all. You see? Where,
Father, sorry, could you bring me to rest inside the heart at this moment?
yes, I'm showing that's exactly what I'm doing.
Thank you.
So as you are open and empty, as you let go, you're resting in the heart. There's no two steps to it. You see? Don't judge your condition based on your attention. So what if attention is on the thoughts?
Should it not be resting on the awareness? Like, as
If the notion of resting is troublesome, throw it away.
okay, there's a lot of thoughts grabbing at the moment.
Yes, but they may try to grab at you, but they don't have any instrument to really grab you. They can just appear. You see?
Just am I going crazy at the moment? That's what it feels like.
Don't, don't. It's okay. You see? It will. This kind of reaction is very natural in the mind. The mind itself will say, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm so confused. I'm going crazy. What's happening to me? Like this. But it's just children playing in that playground called the mind. Don't have to worry. All the thoughts can do is audition, as Guruji says, for your attention and belief. That's all that they can do. They cannot force you to believe them. They cannot even force your attention. But I'm making it really simple for you by saying, even if attention goes, don't worry. Let it go. It's fine.
Why is there so much fear happening at the moment?
Why is there anything like that? If we spend time trying to answer why, then we are actually distracted from the who.
Yes, it's noticed that it's okay. As this one's as it doesn't work anymore to speak from the mind. It's very
The why is the mind's favorite question, and the who is the mind's least favorite question.
there's such a pull. There's such a pull.
Yes, but it can try, no? It can say who, come, but it can't really get you.
Could it just ask, is it all right just to lie down and just stay in the heart and shut shut down the world and just don't
Don't
know?
don't decide, because where will you receive this answer? Where do you want this answer and where will you receive it?
How come it's troublesome to hear you at this moment, and it's been so clear?
Yes, it does. It's very important that it become troublesome because all the dregs of spiritual knowledge which we still may hold on to in our heads, I'm not buying into any of that, and I'm not providing easy answers which you can hold in your mind. So then the mind hates that. No? This is the point where the mind will hate the master more than anything else. Because
It was doing that. It was doing that in the night, last night, when we were
Yes.
listening to you and Guruji. It was getting angry, and there was a,
yes, it's an
what's that doing inside me? Like it just,
epidemic in the Sangha right now. It's an epidemic, which means that I must be really pushing it hard. So it's good that it happens. So when the mind is really attacking, you see, the mind is really attacking is the point where it's really feeling threatened. It's feeling like its game is up. You see, I've been sharing, I don't know if I shared in the broadcast, but with those who are living in Bangalore, I've been sharing that what happens when the policeman is just about to catch the thief. What
yeah.
does the thief do? You see, it picks up a rock and throws it as a diversion. See these feelings, this is anger. See, this is happening to me. I've come to Satsang and all my relationships are a mess. My work is a mess. My money is a mess. Why did I even come? And the master doesn't even care. You see, all of you see, so this is the mind's response to distract you away from the power of the insight, from the power of the beautiful looking that you had. And when are these tantrums coming? You see, when are these tantrums coming? Just after the more beautiful insights, inevitably.
That's what's been happening a lot. The more insight, the more attacks.
Exactly.
But when the attacks happen, they happen like I hear Mada Brule, beautiful Mada. I hear her saying, "Don't waste one moment." I hear Guruji saying, "Stay present." Like it sounds like everyone's yelling, like pressure.
Just
Like
your mind is,
images coming at me.
it's, the mind is creating both sides of this war. I'm not at war with any of you. I'm not even at war with your mind. You see? So
It's interpreting that, and
my
then there's a guilt.
one side is the master side, the other side is the worldly side, of the me and all of that. Actually, I'm not in that playground at all. I'm where I showed you a few minutes ago.
I want to be in that playground.
Very good, very good. So don't be, you see, don't be. And those times where it is difficult, know that I'm right there in your heart. It is
I want
not.
to be on a plane to Bangalore right now. Oh
If
my goodness.
life makes that possible, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. But,
Something wants to return back to where I am, if that makes sense. It can see that the attention is being pulled into the identity, and it wants to come back and cross over, but I'm
first,
already here.
first come back to where I really am, which is your heart,
Okay.
is your intuitive presence. And if then life has to move in that direction, if things just flow that way, we're very welcome, of course, to come. But don't make that any sort of prerequisite. If the mind says, okay, now the master also said, you're welcome. You see, so come. So then the mind will say, okay, now it's only going to happen after I go to Bangalore. I can't. You see? But it's not a prerequisite. Know that that is also a mind game.
Is it a mind game as well to expose it? It's the strongest thought is you're back in the dream. You're back in the dream now. Like it keeps.
So are you aware now?
Yes.
How do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Stay there. Stay where you know that you are aware.
It feels claustrophobic a bit.
Don't worry with whatever feeling, this kind of wobbliness, this kind of claustrophobia. You see, it's just your mind attacking you. There's no reason. You're finding the immensity which is beyond the space of this universe. and the mind's report about that it's too claustrophobic. You see, it's impossible. It's impossible for it to be claustrophobic. It is just maybe seems claustrophobic because it's so vast. You see. It's so beyond any space actually. So the number one thing I want to tell all of you, firstly, is just first relax.
Thank you.
Just relax. There is no stress about any of this. You're not missing anything. Nothing stressful is going on. Just relax. Otherwise, what will happen at best is you will try to mix both the instruments of intuition and mind. You see? Or at worst, you will try to solve this mentally. You see? Because in the heart, you cannot get stressed. Cannot get stressed. So before
Yes, sir.
else, just relax. It is just a clue that mixing, maybe some mixing is happening between both the instruments of head and heart. Don't.
It just feels like imagine. It's remembering the guidance that was given. That
Don't
when
remember anything. Don't remember anything.
no, okay,
Don't remember anything. You see, it is not a classroom like that. It's not an exam where you have to remember what was said. Just relax. First relax. All of it. Just allow. If relax means just allow, then just allow. Allow everything. Don't worry. You don't have to fix, change, hold on to anything. Nothing.
oh my goodness.
If there are any mental stories about being at the edge of the cliff and you just have to now take the final leap, or just now you're at the precipice of this extreme full understanding and just you to just grasp that final grasp and you'll get it. All of that is nonsense. Just throw it away. Don't bother with any of that. There is no rush. There is nothing happening. Just relax. First relax.
How don't know if this is the right question.
Say it. It's okay.
How something wants to say, because this happens all the time, that it happens sometimes waking up in the morning and and usually there's a lightness about it. Okay, I don't understand anything at this moment. It's all right. Just be light about it and just go for a walk. But at this moment, it's not feeling that way because I sort of.
When I say open and empty, that means that we are not to judge or evaluate any feeling that is coming or not coming. It is completely beyond perception, what I'm pointing to. So if the perception feels like something is grabbing your throat and squeezing it, or you feel like you're at top of a mountain and it's all space and all the clouds under you, it doesn't matter. Either of them don't matter.
Is this defending a story right now?
Any perception the mind will use as if it is evidence to create its narrative.
Let me stop it. How does I just sit here and just allow it?
Yes, exactly.
Because when the
Just
video was
allow it. 2 minutes
playing,
to allow it, then let's see what comes. Just in the words of the Zen master, keep your front door and back door open. All thoughts are visitors, let them go. Don't serve them tea. Just relax.
is the one in fear at the moment is the imagination.
Don't know anything, right? Don't
Don't know anything.
conclude anything. Don't have to know. I will start all interactions like this. First, you relax.
Don't let me run out of this, Father.
Again, what did you say?
Don't let me run. Something wants to get up and run down the road right now. Don't know why.
Don't worry, just a thought. It's just a thought. You relax. Let the thought come and don't worry. Nothing is happening. The thought can run. You don't have to worry.
Like the hopelessness and everything coming up. Just let it go.
How do you know what is coming up? With what instrument can you tell what is coming up? The mind cannot tell about anything at all.
Because I don't want the mind to trick me anymore.
If the mind says, I don't want the mind to trick me anymore, it is the thief dressed up as the policeman pretending to help you. Notice that and let it go.
Father, are you here? You're here.
Sorry, say again.
Are you here, Father?
Yes, 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 yes. I'm the one that cannot go. The mind can come and go.
It's funny because when I watch this later, I laugh at myself. But
Okay, it's okay. It's all good. It's very good. And it's not just you, it's for everyone.
I'm not the only one that goes through this.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for saying that.
And you can hear the response in the room also.
Thank you. I love you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So before
Thank you.
conclude that this is what's happening to me. You see, I'm very fearful, I'm burning, this is what's happening. Just check, how do I know? Do I really know? Because once you take the problem to be real, then you can spend years actually trying to fix it. Do we really know that the problem is real?
I just wanted to be quiet and peace.
How do you know you want that?
Because just to rest in peace
How
in
do
my
you,
heart.
how do you know you want that?
Because it's my nature to be peace.
How do you know it's your nature?
Because it's just a knowing because it's been experienced. And I'm hearing Guruji so much in my mind right now. We're all searching for rest and peace. And the masters and saints, it's in the I am.
So never mistake the spiritual aspect of the mind or the spiritual pose of the mind to be your intuition. Just because it speaks spiritually doesn't mean it's telling you the truth.
Because right now it's saying, drop everything you say after I am. Like,
It's the spiritual encyclopedia of everything that we've learned, which is the mind uses spirituality to oppress you. In Satsang, we are cleaning up everything. Guruji also says, don't make tattoos out of my words. Yes, everything must go. Everything must go. What is your heart saying?
something in my heart says, it's okay to even just, if you have to today, just lie in bed all day and let the world go.
Try again. Let's go to the heart together. What is your heart?
Okay. He's not saying anything.
Rest here. Rest here. Wait for it to guide you. And how will you be certain it is the heart? Because the mind is very good at posing.
When that happens, the body starts to shake.
I'll tell you a trick. Yeah?
It's a trick.
A foolproof trick, which is when who you are is apparent to you,
Yes.
then you know you are in the heart. So when I ask you, are you aware now? It is apparent to you. Stay here. Is open and empty. Just live here. Never need anything else.
There's a when the attention is resting in the heart, there's a lot of yawning that happens, like
That's okay.
like energy, like noise coming out.
Everything is okay. Whatever is perceived is perceived. We don't have to conclude what it means. That's all.
It feels toxic, if that makes sense.
Don't make sense, my dear.
Okay.
Sense
I'm
make-
so sorry, Father.
No, it's just, this is like I'm saying, it's for everyone. All of us are here and we need to hear this. So this conversation is just a catalyst for that.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So it is enough even for today's satsang if you can just notice the way the mind feels, the way the mind is perceived, and how it is possible for you to be open and empty and allow this mind to come and go.
Is there thought outside of language? Can there be thought without language?
Not really. I mean, there are sometimes where you just like that, but you don't have to bother with it.
What about the visual? Is that considered a thought? Or
No.
would it need
No.
the language to
Even if some visual comes like memory, imagination, whatever we call it,
Yeah.
unless you label things in that or what that means, it's no trouble.
Is it okay to ask one more thing?
I'll just
Not to try.
this quick. I'll just repeat what Kesha asked. So she
Oh,
said,
sorry.
is thought only in language? And I said, no, sometimes thoughts is just like some other, like which you can't really decipher, but you don't have to bother with those. You don't have to bother with any of that. You just bother with the language part of it. And he said, what about imagery, like memory, imagination, all of those things? So yes, unlabeled, any perception is trouble-free. It's only when you start labeling and saying, this is what this means, which is thought, which is language. So in that way, open and empty is allowing everything to come, no matter what image, what perception, even the perception of thoughts can come. But empty means we don't hang on, we don't grasp.
What to do with the body though at the moment, because it's very agitated and wants to keep moving.
Yes. Who is handling the body?
There's an attachment a little bit at the moment.
Yes, but who is doing anything? Like if I said, okay, now what you have to do is do some spiritual push-ups, no? So, so how would you do them? The mind doesn't know how to move a finger.
Sorry.
Notice that the mind, again, I'm saying this is very important. The mind will keep asking questions, but is it able to assimilate any true answer? Is the receiving of a concept a true answer? Actually, none of you would be satisfied with that because you already read so much, you've been to so many satsangs, all the spiritual concepts, all of you know. So you're obviously not here for new conceptual understanding. You must be here for something greater than that. Let me look at this question. Thank you, my dear. One says in the chat, dear Father, why is the truth so quiet and the false so loud? What kind of silly game is consciousness playing? Trying to confuse us with loud lies and whispered truths. Very beautiful and funny at the same time. How do I trust the silence? Truth so quiet and the false so loud. The truth is just actually so apparent. Apparent. That to make this Leela, this Maya, seem like it has some juice, like to make us really feel like we're in this play. You see? It needs to have this strong narratives, loud narrator. Otherwise, there's no chance you're buying into the reality of this. So just like a movie, which will keep explaining things, this is what's happening, they'll explain it many times so that you can relate to it. It can seem real and relatable. Just like that, here, you see, these things happen, these things show up. But even with the showing up of this, you see, the truth is so apparent to you. When you're open and empty, the truth is so apparent that it needs a loud narrator. Say, this is what this means. This is what this is actually. Because without this, you see, to 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 go through the play of this lila, to go through the salt and sweet, the contrasts, would be impossible. So this is not a game that someone is playing with you. It is a game that you are playing. Now what happens when a child is tired? The child is tired, and the mother knows that when the child is really tired, the child will come back home. So the mother may not be screaming, saying, "Come back home right now." Sometimes, of course, that happens. But many times the mother just waits. The child will tire itself enough in the playground and come back home. So then the child may complain, but why is it so much fun in the playground? My friends have so much fun. At home, I only get bored. I don't want to go. You see, like, all this tantrum may happen. But when you're done, you're done. And if you're coming to satsang, feel at home in satsang, life is already showing you that you're done. What kind of silly game is consciousness playing? Trying to confuse us with loud lies and whisper truth. If the mind was not loud, what's our trouble for most of us now? But why does it keep coming? Why does it keep saying this? So it's also the design of this that the instrument which is concerned about time, is worried in time, must be in a rush. And that instrument which knows your timeless nature has no rush to push you to come home or pull you to come home. So if it is loud, if it is pushy, if it is needy, if it is rushing, if it is grasping, for you to notice that it is the mind is more than enough. The categories that you're creating are both in your mind. So we are going to a subtler level now. Notice that if there is a loud side and this quiet side, spiritual, it's all good, my child. You see? It is both are aspects of your mind. As you let go of that playground, sometimes it may seem like intuition is guiding you with words, but you will notice that those words are not on the opposite side of some other words. They're not opposing anything. They're not in a war. They're not in a rush. So be wary of the thief who dresses up like the policeman. Okay, and the last part of what you said is, how do I trust the silence? You have no option. Life is beating all of us up enough that we run out of moves. Till every single time where there's an option available in human nature, you will pick that option. When you run out of moves, then you trust the silence. He says, thank you, Father. It's good to know that truth is not playing hard to get. Father, it's just not being pushed. Yes. Okay, let's go to Joanna and Sriram.
Hello.
Oh, my dear.
Hi.
Going.
Pardon?
I said, how is it going?
Oh, it's pretty good. No, overall.
It's a trick question.
Well,
It's
from
a
the
trick
last
question.
sorry, go on. Sorry.
It's a trick question because where will you go for the answer to that? With what can we make a true report? How's it going? How's it going? Mind is constantly going to present to you. This is what your report card is. This is what the state is. Is it? But does it know anything? Does it know anything?
I thought,
Yeah.
hello.
Did you hear what I just said?
I went,
Do you did you hear you were in different part of the room or you just came into the room?
I just was in the toilet actually
Just a bit.
for about 1 minute or something.
Yeah, you missed the best. No, I'm kidding. All I'm saying is that even a question like "How's it going?" or "How are you?" is it? How can we make a true report about that? With what? With what device do we have at our disposal, which can truly tell us this is the current state? And in that device, who must we be? Who can report on the true state of consciousness, on the true state of awareness? You see? And there's nothing wrong with conversation, of course. I'd love to meet all my kids and happy to hear what you have to report about how you think you're doing. But really, the whole theme of satsang has been what is that device which can give us true knowledge? With what can we conclude this is what is happening? This is how it is going for me. Do we have that mechanism? And if we have that mechanism, then is that the mechanism that we are using? I asked one child like this. He was sitting here. I said something like this. And then, so he said, but then there's nothing left to say. You see, your mind may react that way. And say, hey, but then you're just like telling us to shut up. But I'm not. I'm not at all. Because we may have the belief that only the head can move the mouth. But I noticed that the heart can move it just as effectively, if not easily, if not in an easier way. Is all this too absurd or? See,
It's not
1 second.
anything such as like using the head,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
That's the,
It's only misusing the head.
it's only the using that.
That's
It's
why
all-
you cannot use it in any positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like use it in the last year.
Yes. Yes, my dear. Sorry, I stopped Shriram. He was going to say something.
Oh, it's okay. It's good. It's maybe good to hear that before going straight into speaking, because very quickly it's yeah. If a little kind of hiccup or a moment of attention going and it feels a bit like, oh, I'm lost or something, this sort of thing.
So let's take this as an example. No? Let's say you were going to say, but I feel so lost. I would say today, because that's the mood I'm in. How do you know? How do you know?
It's just a thought, yes. Just yeah.
So what is your true state then? If that you're lost is just a thought, yes, very good. So it can be discarded. Now, how will you report on the truth about yourself? Just like how I share satsang. Just like how I share satsang.
Maybe I can say still something though. A little. I did relate a bit to the previous conversation, some parts of this, but not. It didn't. Not an experience, but just a revealing, more like this, that I just am, all these thoughts are coming and going. They are not me. This I one isn't none of it. For the past day and a bit, it's been like this, like very just anything can say anything. A few little subject areas get some like pull maybe, but just recently something, then a bit pulley, and then now it's gone into this uncomfortable like place, a bit like this, where you're aware that it's not what it is. It wasn't like this before, but it feels.
What is
Not
very, very good. So I'm happy to hear that so much openness is there. Now, even this is just the old trick of evaluation. Is it? So, very good. Now, that something comes, don't worry about it. You just continue not evaluating. You just continue not evaluating. Because if you allow the mind to convince you that, okay, now, very good, but now this much is left. This is still left. You see? No. How do you know?
Yeah. These areas are what pull you, but why? Why though? Maybe is it you believe something, or what have you put into this? Why? All this.
So I'll give you a set of tips, okay? But you're not to use them again, like I said last time, not to use them to judge yourself in any way or you're doing it badly. You cannot do them badly. Okay? So the tip is the minute there's a why question, forget about it. Why is mine? Just forget about it. Okay? The other tip is if something, it needs some effort, it needs some time, forget about it. You see? If something is inviting you into effort, conceptually, body can make effort, that's no problem. If something is inviting you to conceptual effort, forget about it. This term seems effective, conceptual effort. If something is inviting you to think more, you see, forget about it.
Yeah.
So if something is saying you need the answer, without that you are not free, you are not complete, forget about it. All these tips, don't forget about it.
And in this space of not go, even this one who's like, this isn't true, the reassuring voice and all of them.
Yeah, forget about it.
All of them. Then it's like, but there's lingering, doubtful concern.
How do you know?
Yeah, it just feels familiar, maybe. Like,
how do you know there's a lingering, doubtful concern?
Because I don't feel.
This feels like, seems like stuff will keep us just caught up in this stuff. Just forget about feels like, seems like. Is it apparent like your awareness is? Report that which is apparent like your awareness is. Like I say, are you aware now? I say, is there a lingering something, doubt, something? Is it like that? Is it that apparent?
No.
If it needs perception, if it needs thinking, it is not apparent like yourself. Have you noticed what happens in these conversations? I am saying that you're just fine. You're absolutely fine. Everything is fine. Okay? Your consciousness itself, God's presence is here, it is apparent. See? But what happens usually is that on the other side, I'm just like, but I have a problem. I really have a problem. I think, but you have no problem. But I must have a problem. Huh? And then sometimes we just take a break and think, what is my problem? And then you feel like, what am I solving here? What are we solving?
And maybe a little something still with this relationship thing.
Yes.
But,
Everybody's listening more intently now because everybody loves relationship questions.
well, okay, so there's nothing here, no problem.
Yeah.
Can see everything.
But there, no, I'm kidding. Don't worry.
Yeah, where then is like maybe because there's I don't know, it's a bit mixy still. So and it says a lot of unpleasant things and
What says?
and it says some nice things as well when it feels like here I don't really want to associate with any of it at all, to be honest. So it just feels a bit mixy in that realm still. Like what's
What do you know about your relationship? And with what can you know?
maybe wanting to understand this. How is anything from here when just so I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, in a self satsang right now. What's the thing with the relationship? Just say it like, just pretend we're not in satsang. What's going on?
Because it's like it's one thing, but then we interact and like speak, and then maybe mine says something, or I don't know, like how to be together, open and empty, like
Is it,
this.
when you first be open and empty, is there then a together?
No, but then we are at the same time. I don't know.
Are you just be open and empty? Just be open and empty. Now, who is together? Or apart? Are these notions valid? A set of perceptions, a blob of perception showing up means something or doesn't mean something. Another blob of perceptions, which I call me, responding in some way means something or doesn't mean something. It's all playing out in the screen. See? So just be wary of any open and empty which you take after becoming personal. Yes, open and empty, fully empty. Now show me the relationship. Both the blobs, I don't know if you can see your images on the Zoom, but both the blobs on the screen that you see it's called Joanna and Sriram. What do they mean to you? Either of them. Are you more in one blob and less in the other? Are you in any of these blobs?
I want to say that they're familiar. Familiar.
How do you know they're familiar?
It feels really difficult, like mind bending almost. Like,
You're in that blob which is holding the head right now. Huh? Are you in that blob holding the head? Which was not.
yeah.
Which one are you? Between Joanna and Sriram, which one are you? With your relationship with Joanna or are you struggling with your relationship with Sriram? Which one are you? The one that is talking now, that one is you? Or is that one Ananta that you see on the screen, that one you? Which one is you? The mind will fight this, of course. It's going too far.
Oh, it feels too much. It's too much. You know this is you.
This is the mind. I'm just getting started.
No, just not even get rid of this, but yeah, I just want to, yeah.
So which one are you? The one that is talking is you? Or Sriram is you?
I know it was, you know from experience when you're open and empty, completely clear, you know that no, it's going like this or something.
So the mind is going like this. The mind cannot conclude anything about open and empty because open and empty is no mind, is the unborn. So it wasn't invited to that party. How does it know what happened there? So as you're open and empty, who is left to have a relationship or not have a relationship? Which one are you?
I don't know what to say.
Just answer it like a real question. Which one are you?
So I'm identified with this one then.
Did I say that?
No, I am, because it's not like I don't.
This is the evaluative tendency again. Yeah, okay, so what is he saying? He's saying, I'm still identified. I'm not saying that. Right now, I'm asking, just open and empty. Which one are you? Are you Ananta, Joanna, Sriram, Satyam, Shivoham, Maniko? Which one are you?
Nothing. You need a perception or a thought.
Yes, but you're perceiving. You're perceiving. You can see in this on the screen. You can see Ananta. You can see Joanna, Sriram. At least the names are there on the Zoom. So where are you? Which one are you? So with perception alone, can you conclude which one you are? Just with perception. Use only attention and tell me where you are. Just with attention. Now, what has to be fixed in which relationship?
There's some mind.
Hmm?
Bit of mind.
You want to use a bit of mind.
No.
What do you say?
It's okay.
One says it still feels like a private awareness. Because it is me, it is aware. But this feels like trouble. Exactly. Feels like, seems like. What is actually?
I know don't trust, not to trust feelings and thoughts and all of the words. But it does something like feels too big or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, this time you've gone too far.
Yeah, like, oh no, you're not mature enough or something to see everything like this.
It's very easy. But
And expecting some visual change or some, I don't know.
just open and empty. All this is apparent. You're never going to be one with everything as a Joanna. So non-duality is not a discovery you will come to as a Joanna, but as you are open and empty, you will notice that that is how it is. There is no duality. In fact, there is no singularity also. All these notions just don't apply. And be careful of the but. Yes, it is the mind, but when you say it is the mind, but what you're saying, it is the mind, but I'm still valuing it. So it comes in that way, that it is the mind. So I've started asking now. So now when you say exposing it, are you exposing it because you are valuing it or because you're not valuing it? Many times in the garb of exposing, we can just say, but this is how I'm presenting my truth to you. These are very subtle things where the mind will say, just expose it. I'm just exposing it. No, but you're saying this is true about you somewhere. That's why you're saying that you have to see, you have to expose. So are you exposing because you are valuing it, or because you're saying that I'm letting this go? And am I truly letting this go? Sound for this? Okay. Let's go to Satsang.
Hello, Ananta-ji, Father.
Namaste, my dear. Namaste.
Since the last conversation we had, the mind was so cornered, and I could see there was an annoyance against you, like, oh, this guy is not what you want.
Not the real deal.
Not the, and I'm so thankful that it came up. Because that was exactly the spiritual guy which was so hurt of this, because it doesn't fit its image, how a master or whatever he projects outside should look like.
Since you said you're thankful, how do you know any of this is true? How do you know that this is what happened with you after our last conversation?
I don't know, like in the normal sense of the knowing, but
What do you mean by normal sense of the knowing?
there's a sense of being in love here, and it feels good. So I cannot say that I know it in that way, but
I'm just saying that in your report you said, okay, last time we spoke, I felt very cornered, and then the mind was attacking you, saying, is he even a true master? Is he meant for you? All of this stuff, and then you saw that it's actually helping you get rid of all these notions, and you're so thankful for all of this. Now, how do you know that any of this is true?
to be honest, I just don't comprehend that kind of question. I don't know what to say to that even.
It's good. No? We are now maturing in our relationship, so I feel like we are ready for this kind of direct.
I don't know. I can't really relate to this. How do I know? This is so powerful to be
Yes, very, very relevant, isn't it? Because we take this to be true, and then that gives us the jumping off point to decide what to do next, how to say next, how to behave, all of that apparently, and uh, we just take that to be like the truth. But with what device are we able to recognize this to be true? That this is what happened to me.
I think it's the same mind, which probably it's the back door it comes, and I'm thankful, something like that. This is
I'm saying the whole thing, that I was angry, I was upset, some buttons got pushed, then I became thankful, all of that. I'm saying not saying just the thankful part, everything. How do we know anything about our life? Like what's happening with you? What's going on? Tell me about one moment in your life. How will we know?
it's just all interpretations about what's happening. It's just really you can't really know really.
Yes. Now, so we come to satsang so that the false is dropped and the truth is recognized. You see? And no interpretation, no thought, no narrative is broad enough to hold the truth. Isn't it? But when we keep putting ourselves in those constructs, you see, keep putting ourselves in those constructs, then it can seem like this is the linear life of Satyam that is going on. Whereas what the master is pointing us to is to say that all this stuff about time and space is just notional. You're beyond this universe. Is it? But you cannot have both.
Mm.
You cannot have both, which was I feel the essence of last time's conversation also, where you cannot have your linear narrative about yourself and this sort of claimed understanding about what is happening with you and what you want and what you've got, as well as meet that aspect of yourself which is beyond time and space, beyond this universe. The worldly play can continue because on the screen images will keep moving. There is no trouble with that. But inwardly, if you want the truth to be apparent to you, then you cannot have a story about yourself, or you cannot value any story about yourself.
Mm.
And just accept that openness. You don't know. In your head, you don't know. And where you don't know, you can never know. So give up on trying to determine the nature of reality with that instrument. Don't determine the nature of anything actually with that instrument. Just give up. Otherwise, we'll keep meeting in a linear fashion, which is not my favorite way of meeting. Keep meeting as if we are somebody, whereas I want to meet you as one, beyond time and space. Can we meet there in our heart, where there is no distinction, where Satyam and Ananta are just images on my screen? So when I'm questioning, and today, the last few satsang, maybe I've been a bit like that, where I'm just like, how do you know? How do you know? What is the true source of knowledge? maybe it is unfamiliar sort of territory to be hearing. Also, it is very shaky because it shakes up the foundations of our identity, and the narrative is the foundation of our identity. Now we come to a nakedness where we just feel like, but that mind where I relied on so much to tell me about what my current situation is, what my reality is, I can't rely on that. And for a while, because we're not used to the living in the heart, it can feel like that leaves me very helpless actually. That leaves me with no clue. But what is happening actually is just the letting go of the false knowledge. The false clues are being discarded.
Actually, to meet Anantaji or Father, whatever what we call this form, actually to meet in the heart actually is so effortless. There's not even there is no effort. It's just like this. It's not. And while you were talking before to the first woman, I forgot her name. There was a scene that this awareness which you point, this is prior to actually even perception.
Yes.
It doesn't need to perceive in order to be aware of itself.
Yes, exactly.
So this was I just so I really no words to thank this presence which is sitting in front of me as we call Ananta-Ji. Thank you again.
Let's go to Shivoham. Hello.
Hello. I'm not sure. I don't have anything to say. I just want to watch Fresh.
Yeah.
Right now.
How do you know you want that?
Thank you. I love you. And I know that. That I know.
I'm not asking about that at all. Things that trouble you. Only these things that trouble you. It's like, I only want to see Fresh. How can you not see? You can only see. And how do you know you want that? I love you. I love you. I know that.
Can I just try to expose and see that if it's really an exposure or and yes, just expose this this thought that is coming, that it's coming because well, it just because what you say, how am I aware that it's clear, it's becoming is apparent, but Guruji says but Guruji says you are the weakness of your experience, no? And somehow this is keep tricking the mind, and
What is the difference between you are aware of your perception and then you are the witness of your experience? What is the distinction?
Sorry.
In the two statements, you are aware of your perception and the statement you witness your experience. Is there a difference?
Mhm.
How is it heard differently? Is it same?
Maybe yeah, it's more an idea, or the fact that, let's see, uh,
It blocks. You can't see.
hmm?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's more an idea that something should happen and the witness should be more, even more apparent or something like that. It's just a kind of idea.
Not witnessing enough. You need to become more witness. You should see the witness as if it is something, is it? But that will also become an experience which you will witness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything with a quality, anything with a shape, anything with any size, time, duration, anything. The quality that is perceived is phenomenal. So that is the experience or the perception. Now, when you're saying awareness or witness of, it's the same thing. You're aware of the perception or you're witnessing the perception. How do you know you have to solve this?
It's just a thought. Just exposing further that and this also has the same answer. I know,
How do you know? Yeah.
but I want just to say it to. I keep leaving my inquire too quickly, because but it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Keep leaving the inquiry too quickly. Either leave it instantly or do it for a long time.
Sorry.
Either leave it instantly or do it for a long time.
What do you mean? Do it for a long time?
Like instant is clear,
Yeah.
yeah, then you don't need to know about long time.
Because there is this idea that they should sit more, and I should sit more with this and with because the moment where sometimes happen when this insight is so clear and something is saying, yeah, you got
Okay.
it.
What happens in the
And
other moments when it is not so clear what is happening?
yeah, you
No?
see, it's not clear. Eh?
Just thoughts, belief in thoughts, not in thought
Yes.
by themselves. Try to make the insight that you are aware unclear without believing a thought. Make it unclear that you are aware without buying into a thought.
It's just impossible.
That's it. How much time does it take?
Eh?
How much time does it take to see it is impossible?
It's before time.
So the instrument called the mind cannot make a true judgment about your life and anything in your life.
Yeah.
And the only trouble is in the instrument called the mind. Now, if this was the only device in your room, like I called it Alexa before, so if this was the only device in your room, then we would say we are in trouble because it's faulty. But you have a device which tells you the truth also.
Yeah.
So there is no trouble in staying with that. In fact, when you're not going to the falls, the truth is fully apparent and it's in operation.
Yeah, that's analogy that you share, that what is uh, what is mind can't understand, it can never understand, it will never understand, and what is apparent is always apparent, and when you are confused, somehow you're using the wrong instrument, no? That it's
Where you
really,
don't know,
when you don't know.
where you don't
Yeah.
know, you can never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And where you know, you can never be unknown.
Yes.
It's only a question of using the right instrument.
Yes.
But a little bit of struggle is on because we are trying to squeeze this into the wrong instrument. You see, we're trying to get the thermometer to operate like the measuring tape. And
Yes.
we just can't do it because we've been told so often in our life, and I don't know how many lives, that the thermometer one day will do it. We are hoping that one day the thermometer will measure the size of this room and tell us. Will be able to tell us about our life, will tell the truth about who we are, will tell us about our relationship, about everything. Just can't do it. This is the struggle of the human condition. And why is this? I'm saying the struggle of the human condition so often because I'm presuming, it's a presumption, that it's only in humanity that this device has the capacity to ask these kind of questions. Who am I really? What is the purpose of my life? What am I doing here? How am I supposed to live? See, so it can ask these questions. See? But its ability to assimilate is like a plant.
Yeah.
You cannot get the answer. See? So this is called suffering.
Yeah. That I'm seeing that the thoughts actually are dead.
Yes.
Somehow they don't have
Yes.
the meaning that somehow
Exactly.
it seems to have. I don't know. They
Yeah.
can't. If you say love, I love. Where is love in that word love? Where
Yes.
is love?
Exactly. Very good.
Yes. Yes. And yes.
It's just a word. Just a word. A thought cannot assimilate love. It
Yeah.
cannot fathom love. That's why we accept that love is inexpressible. But that which is the source of love, where even love is born, we expect that to be understood. That cannot be understood. So if we keep going to the wrong instrument to determine the nature of our life, I've been asking this question. So what's going on? How are you? Go to the mind for an answer. What is it going to tell us? Something very limiting compared to the broadness and the vastness of your life. And that, in that judgment from the mind, it is going to sound like a problem only because it's so limited. So then it sounds like a problem that you have to fix. But what we have to fix is not that, but we have to fix our belief in the wrong instrument, that we don't take it to represent reality. So all these simple tricks to do, which is to say, okay, can you tell me what this is in this moment? What is it? With this to show you that your mind cannot fathom even one moment. Yet we are able to narrate fully without our life.
Sorry, the sound is not that clear in the moment.
I see.
Yeah,
How is it now? There's someone with the mic with us.
it seems better now.
Let me now try.
Yeah,
How is it now?
yeah, it seems better.
I was saying that all of this that we say in Satsang is may sound like simple games that we play, but actually is to introduce you to and you so that you can see that the mind cannot fathom one moment of existence. Oh, I see. Is there an echo coming from there? All right. So I was saying, is it better now? Just give me a thumbs up if it is. Okay, good. Yeah. So I was saying that these simple games, experiments that we do in satsang, they may seem very simple. What is there to this? So when I say, what is this? Can you tell me about what this is? You see, you can't do it because the mind is not capable of deciphering even one moment of our life. You see? But we constantly keep going back to that mind to tell us about what happened yesterday, what happened today, what's happening with me now. You see, it's just not possible. And that's why today all satsang I've said, how do you know? Which I'm sure is irritating many of you, but it's important.
Yeah, how is it with the sound?
It was always very clear for me. When both
Yeah.
eyes are open, athletically speaking, I feel like the others are not able to hear properly when your mouth is open.
Okay. Yeah, just that, and yeah, maybe just last thing to expose that, yeah, the tendency that you was describing right now to trying to describe, and yeah, and yeah,
Tell me something
but
that you know without needing a thought.
sorry.
Tell me something that you know without needing a thought to know that.
Can I use a thought to describe it, or
Okay, yes, you can use a thought to describe.
I'm here. I'm just here. Nothing else.
I am aware, I am.
Yes. Yes.
But I want to introduce you all to this aspect of this same knowledge, where any knowledge that you feel like you need is already here,
Hmm.
already here. So you can rely on this. And this is the space where when you're sharing from your heart, then that is called satsang. So what I'm saying is that we may have an idea that, oh, if I am in my heart, then I'm aware, I'm being, I'm consciousness. Only these words can be spoken. It's not like that. A very natural life can be lived just in the heart like this. You can use this body, you can use this universe in whichever way it wants. There is no restriction. There is no there is no limitation when you're in your heart. Only the head tells you, but now if I'm in my heart, I can only say I'm awareness, I'm awareness. I'm awareness. Very natural unfolding of words and life and actions, all can happen. In fact, all of it is happening only with the power of the heart, the intelligence of the being. So in some, sorry, I'm going to go, but in some sense, this is what satsang has been like, because even what Georgie was saying earlier, that I don't know any of this stuff in my heart. I only know that I'm aware, or I am. Give this switching over of reliance for knowledge, switching over of reliance on your heart for true knowledge. Just although it is instant, but I would say just allow yourself to be open and empty. All this insight will unfold for you. It's almost as if it's just metaphorically speaking, it's almost as if consciousness is going through a period of adjustment to heart instead of head.
Hmm.
It can feel like it's limited initially that, oh, but from the knowing of the heart, I can only say I'm aware. It's a very limited way to live.
Yes, there is all these games that are. It's beautiful to see some. Yesterday I was sitting and the mind came like in a like acting as a devil, as a devil, like a devil, devil.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're so saying me,
Yeah.
wow, but in a way that I never saw something. I never experienced something like that. It was very interesting. Saying that I don't know, you now you're gonna kill someone. You see, you're gonna do something terrible. They're like, bah, 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 bah. And it was beautiful to see it, to see acting and to see trying to get attention somehow. And but I don't know
You'll notice
what
all
it.
the tricks. You'll notice all these tricks of the mind.
Yeah. Yes. It was. Um, it, trying hard to, but I don't know if it's just maybe it's just another.
Ask yourself, this is very good to check. How do I really?
How do I really know?
So far, most of us have lived our lives under the claim that the mind really knows and it is telling us the truth. But before we came into satsang, at least, all of us were under the impression the mind really knows and it is telling us. Now we have learned to question that. And so now we're asking, how do I really know? So the masters have told us about intuitive insight, intuition. Go to your intuition, go to self-knowledge. So, so isn't it worthwhile to see whether it is possible at all to live from a different intelligence than what the mind is providing us?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just see that everything I would say, everything can be used against me. in the sense that everything is a it can be a conclusion, or because I wanted to say something, but it's again going back to the trick, to the trick of believing that. So
everything the mind can say or everything the mind says has the potential, if you believe it, to define you in some way.
mm-hmm.
To define
Yes.
you in some way. And that
Nice.
in itself is a limitation which is not true about your reality.
Yes. I can hear.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. I feel like I've said everything I wanted to, but let's quickly go to everyone.
Hi, Ananta-ji.
Go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, okay.
It is about, yes, you told everything already a lot of times in every satsang. So it's sometimes a bit embarrassing to speak because everybody, okay, me is, I always coming up with the same stuff. So, and also I know the answer, but you know, when I had, yesterday I had a little operation and there was so much fear and so much attachment still here towards this body to keep it alive, and is rooted to this very strong belief then I shouldn't lose this body until all the belief and all the me is just die. And because I don't want to start it again in another small body, and I don't know. So, and this one is very strong. I see it, obviously, I see this whole game.
Slowly, my dear, slowly. So,
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm sending all my love, blessings, everything for the health of your body and the healing of your body. Now, really, I'm sincerely asking everyone today. So when you say that this is what's happening to me, I'm really still attached to this, all of that, how do you know?
I was hopeful that you don't ask me this question now. Yeah. Ananta-ji, at the moment, it's just a memory of yesterday.
As I'm really attached, like some image comes.
It is. I cannot say it's not happened. It was a strong fear, and it was in my mind. And I'm coming to Ananta-ji, and I can't laugh now because it's pulling my. Yeah.
Really, truly. And so, what is memory? Memory is the imagery that comes, and we label that, the mind labels that saying past, and then we say, okay, it is showing me what already happened. You see,
Yeah.
images by themselves, we are not concluding whether this is attachment, this is future, this is past. We are not doing any of that. You see? So, if we were to make some conclusion from the image that is coming, what would we have to do?
Please, could you repeat this question again, Anant? I don't know why I cannot hear now properly.
What about that? You can hear?
Yes, I don't know. This lately, I've got some tablet from somebody. Yeah, maybe now. Sorry, it wasn't the volume up properly.
I see, I see. I was just checking with everyone else. You can hear now. The mics are on. I'm just saying that we have relied on an instrument called the mind to tell us what is happening with us, what is our problem, what needs to be fixed. Now, suppose, can we at least imagine, use our imagination in this way, that all the problems that it told us about were not really our problems. They never really existed. That God is running this universe perfectly. There is no struggle, there is no trouble, nothing to be fixed. So can we imagine for a moment that that was true? So then the only problem, that seeming problem that is left, is the belief in this voice which tells us, no, this problem you still have. So I'm asking today, besides the mind, do we have any other way of saying that this is my problem?
No. Of course not. Yeah.
And if we have all recognized by now that the mind is not telling us any truth about ourselves, then how are we still buying that that problem is true?
This is a very strong habit, Ananta-ji.
How do you know? How do you know?
Sorry, just
Tuition has told you it's a very
my head. I cannot laugh now because there is some, uh, I cannot answer really. Because the mind seems to be so serious when it's come and so important. Ananta-ji. I just wanted to ask so much question about things what's going on when the body die, where the soul is going and stuff, but
That's very simple. I have no idea.
I'm so sorry, Anna. Came up with this again. Yeah.
I have to admire all of your courage. Know that you're going to get how do you know, and still the hands are up.
I'm fine now.
You know this. Thank you. Welcome. Very good. Very good.
Thank you so much.
It's like a strange thing. This human condition. It's like everybody's running around saying, "Oh, my roof is leaking. All the water is coming." They say, "Did you get wet? No. Have you seen the leaky roof? No." You see? I just it feels like it must be true. It seems like it must be true. The roof is leaking. That's a strange. And then we spend our whole life trying to solve this non-existent problem. Okay, let's go to Clarissa.
Hello, Ananta-ji. Thank you. Last time you said to me that I should trust in the nothingness, and I realized that there's someone who wants to trust. And it's very difficult for me to leave this someone. It's a great fear is coming up when I do that.
So, shall I say it or will you?
You said it already.
So how do you know? How do you know a great fear is coming up? What makes it great? How do you know it's coming up? Who is it coming up for? How does it bother you? What? How do you know?
It's just a belief.
So when I've been speaking about the mind's diversionary tactics, it always says that the problem is with the energy, with the emotion, with my partner, with my life, with my country, with my sangha, with my everything. You see? But where's the problem? Just what you said. Just the belief. It's a belief.
Yep, but there is really a fight going on, and it's also against you and against the Sangha, and I don't want this anymore because I
How
really
do you know
honor.
there is a fight going on? Show me the fight.
It's a thought.
My dear, it's all a thought.
Mhm.
It feels so true. It seems so true. No, but what is it that is beyond seeming so true and feeling so true? Can we use the mind to understand our life? Almost at the end of Satsang, I sincerely want to ask everyone this question. If you feel you can sincerely use the mind to understand your life, then you will land up in this soup of suffering, all this trouble, problems. If you let go and you trust the greater intelligence, which is your intuition, you don't have to struggle with anything at all. But if you keep buying into these ideas that this is what is happening, then the mind will keep telling you non-existent problems and you'll spend your whole life solving them, missing the beauty of this magnificent creation and apparently missing the reality of what you are. So one says, I want to say this is important. So she says, but when you ask, how do you know? I could say, I perceive it. You see? Now, if you say, I perceive it, does perception equal reality? Does perception equal truth? You see? Now, you perceive this. What is this? Can you believe it? You see? So, a perception by itself you cannot use for identification. You see? A perception by itself you cannot use for identification. You at least need labels. You need a narrative structure to connect the labels. And then the me is born in that narrative structure because you say, this is how this is meaningful for me. You see? In pure perception, there is no trouble. You see? So you do not perceive, like you say, a great fear is coming up. You see? Now, what do you actually perceive? A mosquito-sized sensation is what the mind usually translates as a great fear. And how big is great for that being which has no boundary? What will we call really big? So the interpretation from the head is very different from what we are seeing in pure perception. See? So that's the first part. Now the second part is that if we rely on Vedanta, then the first thing in Vedanta is what? That all perceptions, they come and go and they're not real. So seeing is believing doesn't hold any water when it comes to truth or reality. You see? So although in pure perception you have no trouble, you have no judgment or interpretation or struggle or suffering of any sort, but it is not that what you discover at the end of it, you can give credence to the reality of perception in some way, because what you are is so beyond this perception, these perceptions. So perception by any standard does not fit the benchmark of reality. But most of our interpretations have nothing to do with what we are perceiving. So when we make a statement about our condition, then we first have to objectify ourselves as if we are an object in this universe, because then all of these things could be true for us. What can we rely on to tell us the truth? The mind we can't rely on, it's the limiting voice. In satsang, you hear that I'm only talking nonsense, don't take any of this to be true. You see, it's only meant to have a dissolutive impact, a deconstructive impact onto the false conditioning that we have. It is not inherently meaningful or true, any of the words. You see, and they're therefore full of contradictions and full of ups and downs. So you cannot hold on to the words of satsang also. What can you rely on to be true? And if the mind has done such a good job of telling us the truth so far, why are we here? No chance. Is your intuition telling you that there is a problem? Who would you rather trust, the mind or intuition? So even if it feels shaky sometimes, it feels like trust goes to the mind, belief goes to the mind, it's okay. It's back home. How many years of your life do you want to spend on the false? How many minutes? How many seconds? So just every moment you spend trying to solve a non-existent problem, you see, you're missing the beauty of life. Know that it is not a bad thing to deny that which is false. It is only a bad thing to deny that which is true.
Can you help me to go more inside and to have the intention inside?
Yes, dear, but I want to give you some good news first, is that if you have to work with a lot of effort with your attention, then that is really not, even that is not needed. It's not a question of attention. See, let your attention, leave your attention free right now. Don't worry. Tell me what happened to you. See? I would say keep your attention inside. If you were only inside, is the self inside? See? So what we usually mean by inside is the absence of perception. Because inside, what do we go otherwise? We are not going inside the body. It's not an X-ray machine. So inside really means that my attention is too caught up in the perceptions of the world. Please help me. Just keep it away from the perceptions of the world. Now I'm telling you the good news that it doesn't matter what perceptions are being perceived. So if naturally, like many times in satsang, my eyes also close. If naturally something goes like that, attention is withdrawn from the perceptions of the world, then that's fine. Otherwise, you don't have to force it. As long as you're not believing a false idea about yourself, the truths will not seem to be blurry or confused. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Jada.
Hello, Father. Can you hear me well?
I don't know. Are you tricking me? No. No.
No?
Oh, can you hear me well? Like, how would I know?
You will know this.
Yeah.
Yes, you're here.
Very good.
Um, yes. I don't want to bring this as a problem, but I then how I will bring this.
Let's hear non-problem problem.
No, Father, nothing can. I already forgot the word problem.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, there are things, but there is nothing is being holding on to here anymore by your grace for it to turn into problem. But yeah, no, but yeah, still maybe I'm looking for maybe there is something there, but it doesn't work.
The mind will try.
Yeah. And just I don't know. I feel like recently I don't know what's happening, but I feel like some dead energies in my body. I have no energy for anything, and which I don't actually experience for a very long time. And yeah, this is like I have no energy for even moving. I gain a weight a lot already, and yeah, like a lot of lethargy, it's called, is here. And yeah, I cannot find any energy to do anything, and I just really want to offer this to you. That's all.
You can trust this movement. You can trust that enough life force is provided to the body whenever it is required. So, in all these instruments, and ups and downs of energy does happen. There are moments where you just feel like, I used to have so much energy, now it's just no energy left.
I don't know. Yeah.
But you learn to trust that whenever something is really needed, some energy is really required, it just shows up. That's fine. You can trust them.
Okay. Yeah. It's not such a relaxed state. Yes, such heaviness actually is here. It's like, yes, something kept in my body, but thankfully, as I said, it's the psychological part is not here. I mean, it's just something that goes on by the end. I'm so thankful for this actually. Yeah. Then the true heaviness, which is called as heaviness, is not here. Then everything is fine on lot of levels. So thank you, Father. Love you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Shrikant, last one today.
Namaskar, brother.
Namaste.
Yeah. Nothing much to say. I just wanted to come up. That's it. Thank you.
So welcome. Very good. Thank you. All my love. Advaita wants to sing something? What is it?
जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे, कोटि का कर्म कटत पल में, कोटि का कर्म कटत पल में, जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे, प्रथम नमन करो गुरु चरणन में, 68 तीरथ उन चरणन में, प्रथम नमन करो गुरु चरणन में, 68 तीरथ उन चरणन में, पूरण होत मनोरथ मन की, जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे, गुरु की महिमा हरि सो भारी, वेद पुराणन सब ही विचारी, गुरु की महिमा हरि सो भारी, वेद पुराणन सब ही विचारी, ब्रह्मा ज्ञान धरे पल छिनवी, जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे, गुरु बिन ज्ञान कहाँ से पाऊं, गुरु बिन ज्ञान कहाँ से पाऊं, गुरु महान गुरु के गुण गाऊं, गुरु बिन ज्ञान कहाँ से पाऊं, गुरु महान गुरु के गुण गाऊं, गुरु चरणन में शीश धरे सभी, जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे, कोटि का कर्म कटत पल में, कोटि का कर्म कटत पल में, जो गुरु कृपा करे, जो गुरु कृपा करे।
Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. Guru Kripa Kripa.